My son won a scholarship. Then the donor turned out to be his CEO, billionaire father I never told. The conference room door closes with a soft click. Elias Northwood stands by the window, his back to Nia, his reflection sharp against the city skyline. How old is he exactly? Nia's purse strap digs into her shoulder. 7. He just turned 7. Elias turns around slowly. His amber eyes, the same shade as Leo's, lock onto hers. 7 years old. A math prodigy. Curly dark hair. And he has my eyes, Nia. My exact eyes. She swallows hard. Lots of people have amber eyes. He takes a step closer. Don't insult my intelligence. I've spent 8 years wondering why you vanished without a word. 8 years thinking I did something unforgivable. And now a boy who looks exactly like I did at his age wins my scholarship. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Is he mine? Her silence fills the room like poison. Get out of my building, Nia. Because if I find out you've been hiding my son from me, there isn't a lawyer in this country who will be able to keep him from me. Have you ever made a decision to protect someone you love, only to have that choice come back and threaten to destroy everything you've built? Have you ever wondered if keeping a secret makes you a hero or a coward? Before we dive into how Nia ended up in that conference room, facing the man she thought she'd never see again, I want you to do something for me. If you've ever had to make an impossible choice between love and survival, hit that like button right now. And subscribe to Love Tales by Mr. Grayson, because this story is about to take you on a journey you won't forget. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. 3 weeks earlier, the envelope arrived on a Tuesday. Nia had just gotten home from her shift at the design agency, her feet aching, her mind already calculating whether she could stretch the leftover chicken into 2 more meals. The mailbox in the lobby of their cramped apartment building was usually filled with bills and grocery store flyers. But today, there was something different. The envelope was heavy, cream-colored, expensive paper that felt thick between her fingers. Her name was written in elegant script across the front. Ms. Nia Matthews and family. Her heart started pounding before she even opened it. Leo was at the kitchen table when she walked in, his curly dark hair falling into his eyes as he hunched over a notebook. He was working on something, his pencil moving rapidly across the page. He didn't look up. Hey, baby, what are you working on? He pushed his glasses up his nose. I'm trying to figure out if there's a pattern to prime numbers. Mrs. Chin said they're random, but I don't think that's true. Everything has a pattern. Nia smiled despite her exhaustion. Her 7-year-old son, the boy who had taught himself to read at 3 and was doing algebra at 6, believed the universe made sense. She wished she had that kind of faith. She set down her bag and slid her finger under the seal of the envelope. The paper inside was even heavier than the envelope. Embossed letterhead at the top. Northwood Foundation for Future Innovators. Her hands started shaking before she finished reading the first line. Dear Ms. Matthews, we are pleased to inform you that your son, Leo Matthews, has been selected as one of 10 recipients of our Future Innovators Full Scholarship. The words blurred. Full scholarship. Tuition, books, supplies, and enrichment programs. The best private school in the city. The kind of education she could never afford. Not in a million years of overtime shifts and coupon clipping. Leo, she whispered. He looked up from his notebook. What? You did it. You got the scholarship. His eyes went wide behind his glasses. The application had been a long shot, something his public school teacher had encouraged him to apply for. Nia had helped him fill it out on a prayer and a dream, never believing anything would come of it. Really? I got it. She crossed the small kitchen in 2 steps and pulled him into her arms. You got it, baby. You're going to the academy. He hugged her back, his skinny arms tight around her neck. She closed her eyes and tried to ignore the small voice in the back of her mind whispering that nothing this good came without a price. The letter went on to explain that there would be an awards gala in 2 weeks. All scholarship recipients and their families were required to attend. Formal attire requested. Nia's stomach dropped. She didn't own anything formal. Neither did Leo. But she would figure it out. She always did. That night, after Leo was asleep, Nia sat on the edge of her bed and read the letter again. Northwood Foundation. The name triggered something in her memory, a whisper of recognition she didn't want to examine too closely. She opened her laptop and typed the name into the search bar. The results loaded, and her breath caught in her throat. Elias Northwood, founder and CEO of Northwood Technologies. Billionaire. Innovator. One of the youngest self-made tech moguls in the country. His face stared back at her from the screen. Older now, sharper. The boyish softness she remembered had been replaced by angles and authority. But those eyes. Those amber eyes were exactly the same. Nia slammed the laptop shut. No, 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 no. It couldn't be his foundation. It was a common enough name. Northwood. There were probably dozens of Northwoods in the city. It didn't mean anything. But her hands were shaking, and deep down, she knew she was lying to herself. She hadn't spoken Elias's name out loud in 8 years. Hadn't let herself think about him, about the life she'd walked away from. She'd been so careful. Changed her phone number. Moved across the city. Used her mother's maiden name. She'd disappeared because she had to. Because staying would have destroyed him. And now his scholarship was going to save her son. The irony was so cruel, it almost made her laugh. She couldn't accept it. She would have to decline. Find another way. But even as she thought it, she knew there was no other way. Leo deserved this. He needed this. His mind was too big for the underfunded public school, with its overcrowded classrooms and outdated textbooks. He needed teachers who could challenge him, resources that could nurture his gifts. She couldn't take that away from him because of her past. Maybe Elias wouldn't even be at the gala. Men like him didn't attend these things personally, did they? They sent representatives. He probably signed the checks and moved on, too busy running his empire to meet every scholarship kid. She could go, let Leo accept the award, and slip back into the shadows where she'd been hiding for 8 years. It would be fine. It had to be fine. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparation and panic. Nia found a suit for Leo at the thrift store, a little too big but passable once she hemmed the pants. For herself, she borrowed a black dress from her coworker, simple and unremarkable. The goal was to blend in, to be invisible. Leo was vibrating with excitement the entire week leading up to the gala. He read everything he could find about the Northwood Foundation, about the academy, about the other innovators who had received the scholarship in previous years. Mom, did you know that last year's winner invented a water filtration system that's being used in 6 countries now? And she was only 12. Nia forced a smile. That's amazing, baby. You're going to do incredible things too. He looked up at her with those eyes, those amber eyes that were a mirror of his father's, and her heart cracked a little more. Do you think the founder will be there, Mr. Northwood? I read that he almost never does public events, but some articles said he's been more involved with the foundation lately. I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe. I hope so. I have so many questions about his algorithm work. Of course he did. The night of the gala arrived too quickly. Nia stood in front of the bathroom mirror, applying the minimal makeup she owned, trying to calm the nausea churning in her stomach. She barely recognized herself in the borrowed dress. She looked like someone who belonged at an event like this. Polished. Put together. It was all a lie. Leo appeared in the doorway, tugging at his tie. Mom, I can't get this right. Come here. She knelt down and adjusted his tie, her fingers working automatically. He smelled like the cheap cologne sample he'd insisted on wearing. Trying so hard to seem grown up. You look so handsome. He grinned. You look pretty, Mom. Thank you, baby. Are you nervous? Me? No. Why would I be nervous? You have that look. The one you get when the bills come. She smoothed his lapel, avoiding his eyes. I'm fine. Just want everything to be perfect for you. The gala was held at the Grand Metropolitan Hotel, the kind of place Nia had only seen in movies. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Women in gowns that cost more than Nia's annual rent. Men in tuxedos that fit like they were born wearing them. Nia held Leo's hand as they walked through the towering doors, her heels clicking against the marble. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around, to run, to protect the fragile life she'd built. But Leo was staring at everything with wonder, his brilliant mind probably calculating the architecture, the angles of the chandelier light, the mathematical precision of the decorative floor pattern. She couldn't take this from him. They found their assigned table near the front of the ballroom. Other scholarship families were already seated, their children dressed in their best, eyes wide with the same mix of excitement and overwhelm. A server came by with champagne and sparkling cider. Leo took a glass of cider, sipping it carefully, trying to mimic the adults around him. Nia's heart swelled with love and broke with fear in equal measure. The lights dimmed. A hush fell over the room. Nia's pulse hammered in her ears. A woman in an elegant burgundy gown stepped onto the stage. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 10th Annual Future Innovators Scholarship Gala. Tonight, we celebrate 10 extraordinary young minds who represent the future of innovation, technology, and human progress. Applause rippled through the room. Leo was sitting on the edge of his seat. The woman continued. This scholarship program was founded on the belief that brilliance exists in every corner of our society, regardless of circumstance or background. Our founder has always believed that genius should be nurtured, not limited by economic barriers. Nia's hands clenched in her lap. And tonight, for the first time in the Foundation's history, our founder has chosen to join us personally to meet this year's recipients. Please join me in welcoming Elias Northwood. The applause swelled. Nia's vision tunneled. And then he walked onto the stage. 8 years had changed him. He was broader now, more solid. The uncertain ambition she'd known had been replaced by the quiet confidence of a man who had conquered every goal he'd set. His dark hair was shorter, threaded with just a hint of silver at the temples. He wore a tuxedo like it was armor. But his eyes, those amber eyes that haunted her dreams, were exactly the same. Nia couldn't breathe. He took the microphone, his voice deeper than she remembered. Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you all for being here tonight. His voice rolled over the crowd, warm and commanding. When I started this foundation, it was because I understood what it meant to have potential but no path. I was lucky enough to have mentors who saw something in me and took a chance. This scholarship is my way of being that chance for others. He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. Tonight's recipients are not just students. They are innovators, problem solvers, and future leaders. I've personally reviewed every application, every project, every essay. And I can tell you, the future is in remarkable hands. Nia wanted to sink through the floor. She wanted to grab Leo and run. But she was frozen, trapped in a nightmare of her own making. The woman, Rebecca, returned to the stage with a stack of folders. We'll now call each recipient to the stage to receive their award packet and meet Mr. Northwood personally. No. She hadn't thought this through. She'd assumed it would be a mass presentation, a quick handshake in a crowd. Not individual. Not personal. Not with Leo standing inches away from his father under a spotlight. The first name was called. A 10-year-old girl in a blue dress walked up. Elias shook her hand, asked her a question that made her laugh. Cameras flashed. Second name. Third name. Each child walked up. Each one got a moment with Elias, a personal exchange that the giant screens on either side of the stage projected to the entire ballroom. Nia's heart was going to explode. Leo was bouncing his leg under the table, anxious and excited. And now, one of our most exceptional recipients. At just 7 years old, his application essay on algorithmic patterns in nature was one of the most sophisticated pieces I've ever read. Please welcome Leo Matthews. The room erupted in applause. Leo stood up, grinning, and started toward the stage. Nia's entire body went cold. She watched as if from outside herself, as her son climbed the stairs to the stage. Watched as Elias turned toward him with a welcoming smile. Watched as Leo approached, his little hand extended for a handshake. And then Elias saw him. Really saw him. The smile froze on Elias's face. His eyes locked on Leo, widening almost imperceptibly. The hand that had been reaching for a handshake stopped midair. For a moment, everything stopped. Elias was staring at the boy in front of him, and Nia could see the exact moment the recognition hit. Not conscious recognition, not yet, but something deeper, something biological. He was looking at a mirror of his own childhood face. Leo, oblivious, shook Elias's hand enthusiastically. Mr. Northwood, it's such an honor to meet you. I've read all about your work on predictive algorithms. Your 2018 paper on machine learning was brilliant. The sound system picked up every word, broadcasting it to the room. Elias seemed to physically shake himself, the professional mask sliding back into place. But his eyes never left Leo's face. Thank you, Leo. That's very kind. He handed Leo the folder, but his hands were moving automatically. His mind was clearly somewhere else. Tell me, Leo, how old are you? I just turned 7. My birthday was last month. 7. Elias repeated it like he was doing math in his head. And your parents? Are they here tonight? Leo pointed toward their table. My mom is. Right there. He pointed directly at Nia. Every eye in the room followed his finger, but Nia only saw one pair. Elias's gaze locked onto hers across the ballroom, and the world tilted on its axis. She saw the recognition hit him like a physical blow. Saw his expression shift from confusion to shock to something darker. Anger. Hurt. Betrayal. The enormous screens on either side of the stage were split now. Leo's face on one side, Elias's on the other. And even from where she sat, even on the massive screens, the resemblance was undeniable. The same eyes, the same bone structure, the same expressions. The ballroom had gone eerily quiet. People were noticing. Whispers started spreading like wildfire. Elias recovered first, turning his attention back to Leo with visible effort. Your mother did an excellent job raising you, Leo. You should be very proud. I am. She's the best. The words were innocent, but they landed like knives. Elias nodded slowly. I'm sure she is. Congratulations on your scholarship, Leo. I look forward to following your progress. It was a dismissal. Leo, sensing the shift in energy, took his folder and headed back to the table. Nia wanted to grab him and run, but her legs wouldn't move. Leo slid into his seat, eyes shining. Mom, that was incredible. Did you see he knew about my essay? Nia managed a nod, unable to form words. On stage, Elias was calling the next recipient, but his performance was mechanical now. His eyes kept drifting back to their table. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur. Nia's mind was racing, calculating. They could leave right after the presentations. Skip the reception. She could pull Leo from the scholarship, return the award, disappear again. But even as she thought it, she knew it was too late. Elias knew. Maybe not consciously, not with certainty, but enough to ask questions. Enough to dig. And if there was one thing Elias Northwood was known for, it was his ability to solve impossible puzzles. The presentations ended. Rebecca invited everyone to stay for the reception, food and drinks in the adjoining hall, a chance for families to mingle. Nia stood immediately. Leo, we need to go. What? But Mom, the reception. I wanted to talk to the other recipients. I know, baby, but I'm not feeling well. We need to head home. His face fell, but he didn't argue. He'd learned early in life not to push when money or circumstances were tight. They made it halfway to the exit when a voice stopped them. Ms. Matthews. A moment, please. Nia turned slowly. Rebecca, the woman in the burgundy gown, was approaching with a professional smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Mr. Northwood would like to speak with you briefly. Just a few moments to discuss Leo's placement and schedule. Nia's mouth went dry. That's not necessary. Everything we need is in the folder. Rebecca's smile thinned. I'm afraid Mr. Northwood insists. He makes it a point to personally meet with the families of all our recipients. It's just upstairs. It won't take long. It wasn't a request. Leo was looking between them, confused by the sudden tension. Nia had no choice. Running now would only confirm suspicions. She had to face this. Face him. She nodded. Rebecca led them to a private elevator, the kind that required a key card. They rode up in silence. Leo pressed against Nia's side. The doors opened onto a quiet floor. Executive offices. Rebecca led them down a hushed hallway to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He'll be right with you. Rebecca left, closing the door behind her. Nia and Leo stood in the empty room. The city glittered below them, beautiful and indifferent. Mom, are you okay? You're shaking. She wasn't even aware of it until he said it. She pulled him close. I'm fine, baby. Everything's fine. The door opened. Elias walked in, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. He'd removed his tuxedo jacket, his white shirt pristine, sleeves rolled to his elbows in a gesture she remembered. He used to do that when he was working on a problem that frustrated him. His eyes went straight to Leo. Leo, there's a lounge area just next door with some games and books. Would you mind waiting there for a few minutes while I speak with your mother about the program details? Leo looked at Nia. She managed a nod. It's okay. I'll be right here. Leo, always obedient, left the room. The door clicked shut behind him. And then they were alone. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Elias moved to the window, his back to her. A power play, making her wait. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. How old is he exactly? And that brought us to where we started. The confrontation. The question. The silence that confirmed everything. Nia stood there, her purse strap digging into her shoulder, and tried to remember how to breathe. Elias turned around, and the rawness in his eyes nearly broke her. 7 years old. A math prodigy. Curly dark hair. And he has my eyes, Nia. My exact eyes. She swallowed against the lump in her throat. Lots of people have amber eyes. It was a weak defense, and they both knew it. He took a step closer, and she forced herself not to back away. Don't insult my intelligence. I've spent 8 years wondering why you vanished without a word. 8 years thinking I did something unforgivable. And now a boy who looks exactly like I did at his age wins my scholarship. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Is he mine? The word yes was trapped in her throat. Saying it out loud would change everything. Would open a door she'd kept locked for Leo's entire life. But her silence was answer enough. Something flickered across Elias's face. Pain. Anger. betrayal. All of it warring for dominance. Get out of my building, Nia. What? His voice dropped to something dangerous. Get out. Because if I find out you've been hiding my son from me, there isn't a lawyer in this country who will be able to keep him from me. It was a threat and a promise, and Nia knew he meant every word. She turned and walked to the door on shaking legs. She collected Leo from the lounge, ignoring his questions, and didn't stop moving until they were in a taxi heading home. Leo fell asleep on the drive, exhausted from the excitement and confusion of the night. Nia stared out the window at the passing city lights and tried to figure out what she was going to do. Because Elias Northwood didn't make empty threats. And now that he knew, or suspected, or whatever state of awareness he was in, he wouldn't stop until he had answers. And the truth was going to destroy them all. Now, I need to pause here for a moment because I want to know something. Have you ever felt the walls closing in on a secret you knew you couldn't keep forever? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you're hooked on this story, smash that subscribe button because what happens next is going to change everything for Nia and Leo. The next morning, Nia woke up to 17 missed calls, all from the same number. A number she didn't recognize but instinctively knew was connected to Elias. She deleted the notifications and made Leo breakfast, trying to pretend everything was normal. But her hands shook as she poured his cereal. Mom, are we still doing the scholarship? Or are we giving it back? She looked at him, at his hopeful, anxious face. Why would you think we're giving it back? You wanted to leave last night. And you got weird when we had to talk to Mr. Northwood. He was too perceptive, too smart. No, baby. You earned this scholarship. Nothing's going to change that. Good. He went back to his cereal, satisfied. But Nia knew she'd just made a promise she might not be able to keep. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Today. I'll send a car at noon. She stared at the message. There was no signature, but there didn't need to be. She typed back. I'm working. The response was immediate. Not anymore. I called your office. You're taking a personal day. The car will be there at noon. Don't make me come get you myself. Her blood ran cold. He'd called her office. He already knew where she worked. How much did he already know? At 11:55, a black town car pulled up outside her apartment building. Leo was at school. She was alone. She thought about not going, about staying inside and pretending she didn't see it. But at 12:01, her phone rang. She answered without saying hello. Elias's voice was cold. You have two choices, Nia. Get in the car, or I show up at your door. And if I show up at your door, I'm not leaving until I have answers. Your choice. She got in the car. The driver didn't speak to her, didn't ask where she wanted to go. He already had instructions. They drove through the city, and Nia watched the buildings get taller, more expensive. They were heading into the financial district. Northwood Technologies headquarters. The car pulled into a private underground garage. A woman in a sharp suit was waiting. Ms. Matthews, please follow me. They took a private elevator to the top floor. Nia had never been to Elias's office, not in this building. When they'd been together, he was still working out of a small startup space, all ambition and potential. This was different. This was an empire. The elevator opened directly into a reception area that screamed power and money. Modern art on the walls. Panoramic city views. The woman led her down a hall to a corner office twice the size of Nia's entire apartment. Elias was standing behind a massive desk, his back to the door, staring out at the city. Thank you, Jennifer. Hold all my calls. The woman left, and the door closed with that same soft click from the night before. Nia stood there, purse clutched in her hands, feeling like she was 16 again. Small. Powerless. Elias didn't turn around. I've been trying to figure out what I did. What I said or didn't say that made you disappear 8 years ago. I've replayed every conversation, every moment from our last night together. And I still can't figure it out. His voice was eerily calm. We were happy. Or at least, I thought we were. We were talking about the future. About what came next after I launched the company. And then you were just gone. He finally turned to face her. No note. No explanation. Your phone disconnected. Your apartment cleared out. It was like you'd never existed. Nia's throat was tight. Elias, I can explain. Can you? Because I'm really looking forward to hearing what explanation justifies hiding my child from me for 7 years. His calm facade cracked, fury bleeding through. 7 years, Nia. He's 7 years old. Which means you knew you were pregnant when you left. You knew, and you still disappeared. I didn't know. It was the truth, but it sounded like a lie even to her ears. I didn't know until after. After what? After you decided I wasn't good enough to be part of his life? No. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She couldn't tell him. Not the real reason. Because telling him the truth about why she left would unravel everything he'd built. 8 years ago, Elias's startup had been on the verge of a breakthrough. He'd developed an algorithm that would eventually become the foundation of Northwood Technologies. But there were other people who wanted that algorithm. Competitors. People willing to do anything to get it. And they'd threatened her. Told her that if she didn't disappear, they would plant evidence of corporate espionage on Elias. Destroy him before he even started. She'd loved him too much to let that happen. So she'd left. Disappeared. Protected him the only way she knew how. And then she discovered she was pregnant, and it was too late to go back. But she couldn't tell him any of that. Because if Elias knew someone had threatened her, threatened their family, he would tear the world apart looking for them. And that kind of vendetta would destroy the empire he'd built. So she stayed silent. And her silence made her the villain in his story. Elias watched her, his jaw tight. I want a DNA test. Fine. Just like that? What's the point in fighting it? You already know the answer. His hands clenched on the desk. I want it in writing. Legal documentation. And I want a custody agreement. Her heart stopped. Custody? Did you think I'd just walk away? That you could keep him from me? Elias, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. He moved around the desk, closing the distance between them. I have spent 8 years building this company into something that matters. Something that creates opportunities for kids like Leo. Kids with brilliant minds and no resources. And all this time, my own son was out there, and I didn't even know he existed. His voice broke on the last word. You took that from me, Nia. You took every first word, every first step, every bedtime story. You took 7 years of his life, and I can never get that back. Tears were streaming down her face now. I was trying to protect him. From what? From me? Yes. The word fell between them like a bomb. Elias stared at her, stunned. From you. From this. She gestured at the office, the empire. From a life where he's not a person, he's a commodity, a legacy, an heir. I wanted him to have a childhood, a normal life. Not this. You don't get to make that choice for me. I already did. The words were cruel, and she saw them land. Saw the pain flash across his face. But before he could respond, his phone buzzed on the desk. He glanced at it, and his expression shifted. We're not done with this conversation, but I have a board meeting in 10 minutes. He pressed a button on his desk. Jennifer, please arrange a car to take Ms. Matthews home. And get our legal team on the phone. I need them to draft custody paperwork. Nia's stomach dropped. Elias, please. Don't do this. You did this. He turned away from her, a clear dismissal. Jennifer appeared in the doorway. Ms. Matthews, if you'll follow me. Nia wanted to scream, to beg, to make him understand. But the set of his shoulders, the rigid line of his spine, told her there was no reaching him right now. She left. The car ride home was a blur. She made it inside her apartment and collapsed on the couch, her mind racing. What had she done? She'd thought she was protecting Leo, protecting both of them. But instead, she'd ignited a war she had no hope of winning. Elias had resources she couldn't dream of. Lawyers who could argue that her deception made her an unfit mother. Money to drag this out until she was bankrupt. He could take Leo from her. The thought made her physically ill. Her phone rang. She answered without looking. Nia Matthews? Yes? This is David Chun from Northwood Technologies Legal Department. Mr. Northwood has asked me to reach out regarding a custody arrangement for the minor child Leo Matthews. Nia closed her eyes. I don't have a lawyer. You'll need one. We'll be filing paperwork within the week to establish paternity and petition for joint custody. Joint custody. As if Elias would settle for joint anything. Mr. Chun continued. However, Mr. Northwood has also asked me to convey that he's willing to discuss terms before we proceed to court. If you're open to a meeting. What kind of terms? He didn't specify, but he suggested that a conversation might be more beneficial for all parties, particularly for Leo. It was a veiled threat. Play ball, or this gets ugly. Nia took a shaky breath. Fine. When? Tomorrow. 10 a.m. Mr. Northwood's office. I'll be there to mediate. Fine. She hung up before he could say anything else. Tomorrow. She had less than 24 hours to figure out how to save her son from being pulled into the world she'd spent 7 years trying to protect him from. That night, Leo asked about the scholarship again. When do I start at the new school? September. Right after summer break. That's only 3 months away. I know. He was quiet for a moment, then looked up at her with those devastating amber eyes. Mom, do you think Mr. Northwood really reviewed all the applications himself? Or do you think that's just what they say? Nia brushed his curls back from his forehead. I think he really did, Baby, I think he cares a lot about finding kids like you. Kids like me? Smart kids. Special kids. Leo grinned. You have to say that. You're my mom. Doesn't make it less true. She tucked him in, singing the lullaby she'd sung to him since he was born. A melody Elias had hummed to her once, years ago, that she'd never been able to forget. Leo's eyes drifted closed, his breathing evening out. Nia sat there in the dark, watching him sleep, and wondered how she was going to survive losing him. Because that's what this felt like. The beginning of the end. The next morning, she dropped Leo at school and took the train to Elias's office. She couldn't afford a lawyer, so she was walking into this alone. Jennifer met her in the reception area and led her to a conference room. Not Elias's office this time. Neutral ground. David Chun was already there, a neat stack of folders in front of him. He stood when she entered. Ms. Matthews. Thank you for coming. She sat down across from him, feeling like she was facing a firing squad. Where's Elias? Mr. Northwood will join us shortly. He wanted me to go over some preliminary documents with you first. He slid a folder across the table. This is a proposed custody agreement. Joint legal custody, with a residential schedule to be determined based on Leo's school calendar and Mr. Northwood's travel schedule. Nia flipped through the pages, barely comprehending the legal jargon. This says Leo would spend weekends and holidays with Elias. Yes, alternating weeks during summer. Her hands tightened on the paper. No, Ms. Matthews, this is actually quite generous given the circumstances. Generous? You want to take my son away from me half the time because his father just found out he exists? Given that you concealed Leo's existence for 7 years, a judge would likely view Mr. Northwood's willingness to pursue joint custody rather than full custody as remarkably restrained. The threat was clear. The door opened, and Elias walked in. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept. His eyes went to Nia, then away, like looking at her hurt. Has she reviewed the proposal? She's reviewed it. Elias sat down at the head of the table, creating a triangle between the three of them. This doesn't have to be a fight, Nia. You're trying to take my son, our son, and I'm trying to be part of his life. By forcing me into a legal agreement, you didn't leave me much choice. The bitterness in his voice was cutting. If you'd come to me 8 years ago and told me you were pregnant, we could have figured this out. But you didn't. So yes, now we need legal protection to make sure I don't lose another 7 years. Nia's eyes burned. I did what I thought was right. For who? Because it sure as hell wasn't right for me. Or for Leo. You don't know anything about what's right for Leo. The words came out harsher than she intended. Elias's expression hardened. Then enlighten me. Tell me what's right for him. Is it growing up in a cramped apartment, struggling to make ends meet, when his father could have provided everything he needed? Money isn't everything, says someone who's never had it. The words hit like a slap. Is that what this is about? You want to swoop in and be the hero? Buy him things I can't afford and make me look like the failure? This isn't about you. His voice rose. This is about a little boy who deserves to know his father. The room fell silent. David Chin cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a break. No. Elias stood up. We're going to settle this now. Nia, you have 2 options. Sign the joint custody agreement, and we do this as civilly as possible for Leo's sake. Or refuse, and I file for full custody on the grounds that you've already proven you're willing to keep him from me. You wouldn't. Try me. They stared at each other across the conference table. 2 people who used to love each other now locked in a battle neither could afford to lose. And somewhere in the middle was a 7-year-old boy who deserved better than this. Nia looked down at the papers in front of her, looked at the future being mapped out in legal terms and scheduled visitation. I need time. You have until Friday. Then I file. He walked out without another word. David Chun gathered his folders. For what it's worth, Ms. Matthews, I think you should take the deal. Mr. Northwood is angry right now, but he's not unreasonable. If you fight him on this, it's only going to get worse. He left her alone in the conference room. Nia sat there, staring at the city through the windows, and realized she was out of options. She'd spent 7 years protecting Leo from this world, but the world had found them anyway. Nia didn't go home. She couldn't face the empty apartment, couldn't face the weight of the decision pressing down on her chest. Instead, she walked, block after block through the city, her mind churning. By the time she picked Leo up from school, she'd made her decision. Not because she wanted to, because she had no choice. That night, after Leo was asleep, she called the number David Chun had given her. I'll sign. Her voice was hollow. There was a pause on the other end. I'll have the papers couriered over tomorrow. Once you sign, we'll file for the paternity test. After that's confirmed, the custody arrangement goes into effect. When? 2 weeks, assuming the test is expedited. 2 weeks. 14 days left of a life she knew. Ms. Matthews, for what it's worth, I think you're making the right choice. She hung up without responding. The papers arrived the next morning. Nia signed them at her kitchen table, her hand shaking so badly she had to steady her wrist with her other hand. Each signature felt like giving away a piece of Leo. The paternity test was scheduled for the following Monday. A technician would come to their apartment, simple cheek swabs, results in 72 hours. But Nia already knew what the results would say. The hard part was telling Leo. She waited until the weekend, until they were having breakfast together, just the two of them in their small kitchen that suddenly felt even smaller. Baby, I need to talk to you about something. Leo looked up from his toast, jam smeared on his cheek. Am I in trouble? No, nothing like that. She took a breath. You know how it's always been just you and me? He nodded, wiping his face with his sleeve. Well, that's going to change a little bit. You're going to get to meet your dad. Leo's eyes went wide. My dad? I have a dad. Everyone has a dad, sweetheart. Yours just hasn't been around until now. Where was he? He didn't know about you. But now he does, and he wants to be part of your life. Leo processed this, his brilliant little mind working through the implications. Is it because of the scholarship? Did he find out because of that? Nia's throat tightened. Yes. Is he mad? At me, not at you. You didn't do anything wrong. Are you mad at him? It's complicated, baby. Leo was quiet for a moment, then asked the question Nia had been dreading. Is it Mr. Northwood? From the gala? The kid was too smart for his own good. Yes. Leo's face lit up in a way that broke Nia's heart. Really? Mr. Northwood is my dad? Yes. That's so cool. He's like the smartest person in the world. Wait, does that mean I can ask him about his algorithm work? And his theories on predictive modeling? Nia managed a weak smile. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you about all of that. When do I get to see him? Soon. What she didn't tell Leo was that Elias had already requested a meeting. Tomorrow. Sunday afternoon. Neutral location. A park. David Chun had called it a preliminary introduction to establish rapport before formal visitation begins. Nia called it a nightmare. Sunday arrived too quickly. Nia dressed Leo in his favorite shirt, the one with the periodic table on it, and tried to prepare him for what was coming. Remember, this might be a little awkward at first. He doesn't know you yet, and you don't know him. It's okay if you're nervous. I'm not nervous. I'm excited. Of course he was. They took the train to Riverside Park, the green space along the water where families came to play. It felt surreal, bringing her son to meet his father in a place designed for happy families. Elias was already there, standing near a bench, looking completely out of place in his expensive casual wear. He spotted them immediately, his eyes locking on Leo. Nia watched as he took in every detail of his son. The way Leo walked, the way he pushed his glasses up his nose, the way his curls bounced with each step. Leo ran ahead, all his excitement overriding any shyness. Mr. Northwood. Hi. Elias crouched down to Leo's level, and Nia saw his hands tremble slightly. Hi, Leo. You can call me Elias if you want. Okay. There was a beat of awkward silence. Then Leo blurted out. Did you really invent the Northwood predictive algorithm yourself, or did you have a team? Elias blinked, clearly not expecting that as an opening question. I had a team, but the core concept was mine. Why do you ask? Because I read about it, and I think there's a way to make it more efficient. You're using a recursive function, but I think a dynamic programming approach would reduce the computational complexity. Elias stared at him, something like wonder crossing his face. You're 7 years old. Almost 8. And you understand dynamic programming? Leo shrugged. It's not that hard once you understand the pattern. Elias looked at Nia over Leo's head, and for the first time since the gala, his expression wasn't angry. It was odd. He's really mine. It wasn't a question. Nia nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Elias turned back to Leo. Would you like to walk with me? I want to hear more about your ideas. Okay. They started walking along the path, and Nia followed a few steps behind, watching as her son and his father talked in a language she could barely follow. Algorithms and computational theory and mathematical models. Leo was glowing. He'd never had anyone who could keep up with his mind like this. Nia tried, but her understanding of advanced mathematics only went so far. Elias, on the other hand, was matching him thought for thought, even challenging him, pushing him to think deeper. After an hour, they stopped at a cafe. Elias bought them all hot chocolate, and they sat at an outdoor table. Leo was in the middle of explaining his theory about prime number patterns when Elias interrupted gently. Leo, can I ask you a question? Sure. Are you happy? Leo looked confused. Right now? Yeah, this is great. No, I mean in general. In your life. Are you happy? Leo glanced at Nia. Yeah, Mom and I are a good team. We don't have a lot of money, but we're happy. Elias's jaw tightened. But if you could have anything, what would it be? Leo thought about it seriously. A better computer. Mine is really old and slow. And maybe more books. The library is great, but sometimes the wait list for the books I want is really long. What if I could get you those things? Really? Nia cut in. Elias, we talked about this. He looked at her, his expression unreadable. I'm not trying to buy him, Nia. I'm trying to give him what he needs. He has what he needs. Does he? The question hung between them, loaded with accusation. Leo looked between them, sensing the tension. It's okay, Mom. I don't need new stuff. But you want it, don't you? Elias pressed. Sure, but wanting isn't the same as needing. Elias smiled, something genuine and warm. You're wise for 7. Almost 8. Right. Almost 8. They finished their hot chocolate in relative peace, but Nia could feel the undercurrent. Elias was already doing it. Already showing Leo glimpses of a life she couldn't provide. When it was time to leave, Leo hugged Elias goodbye without hesitation. Can we do this again? Elias looked at Nia. Would that be okay? Nia wanted to say no. Wanted to drag Leo back to their small, safe life. But the hope in Leo's eyes stopped her. Yes. How about next weekend? Sure. And maybe during the week sometime? I could take him to the lab. Show him some of the projects we're working on. Elias. Her voice was strained. Please. Just think about it. He wasn't asking. He was already planning. Already inserting himself into every corner of Leo's life. On the train ride home, Leo wouldn't stop talking. Mom, did you know he's working on an AI that can predict climate patterns 50 years in advance? And he said I could see it. Actually see the code. That's great, baby. And he asked if I liked baseball. I said I'd never been to a game because tickets are expensive, and he said he has a box at the stadium. A box, Mom. Can we go? We'll see. Her standard answer when she meant no, but didn't want to disappoint him. But this time, she knew we'll see wasn't going to be enough. Because Elias could give Leo everything she'd been saying, we'll see, to for 7 years. And Leo was starting to realize it. The paternity test results came back on Thursday. 99.9% probability of paternity. Not that there was ever any doubt. David Chin called to inform her that the custody arrangement would go into effect immediately. Elias wanted to start with Wednesday dinners and alternating weekends. Nia agreed because she had no choice. The first Wednesday, Elias picked Leo up from school. Nia had wanted to be there, but Elias had sent a car for Leo with a message. Trust has to start somewhere. It felt like a test and a punishment. Leo came home at 8:30, carrying a bag from an expensive electronics store. Look what Elias got me. He pulled out a laptop. Top of the line. The kind Nia had looked at online and nearly cried at the price. Leo, you can't accept that. Why not? He said every good programmer needs good tools. Because it's too much. But Mom, my old computer can't even run the software I need for my classes. This one can do everything. He wasn't wrong. But that wasn't the point. Did you thank him? Of course. And did you have fun? So much fun. We went to his lab, and he showed me the climate AI. And then we got Thai food. Do you know he can speak Thai? He lived there for a year when he was in college. Sounds like you learned a lot about him. He's really cool, Mom. I can see why you liked him. The innocence of the statement gutted her. Yeah, he is pretty cool. That night, after Leo was asleep, Nia stared at the expensive laptop on their kitchen table and felt herself losing the battle she'd been fighting for 7 years. If you're still watching, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button if you've ever felt like you're being replaced in someone's life. And drop a comment telling me what you think Nia should do. Because what's coming next is going to test her in ways she never imagined. The weeks blurred together. Wednesday dinners became Wednesday dinners plus Saturday afternoons. Then Saturday afternoons extended into overnight stays at Elias's penthouse. Leo came home from each visit with stories that made Nia's apartment feel smaller and smaller. Elias has a VR room. And a chef. And Mom, his shower has like 12 different settings. That's nice, baby. And he said I could have my own room there. Design it however I want. Nia's hands stilled on the dishes she was washing. Your room is here, Leo. I know. But I could have one there too. For when I stay over. Right. For when you stay over. She forced the words out, forced herself to smile. But inside, she was breaking. Because Leo was falling in love with the life Elias could provide. And she couldn't compete with that. It was a Thursday evening, 6 weeks into the custody arrangement, when everything shifted. Nia was at her desk at the design agency, working late to make up for all the time she'd taken off for meetings and mediations, when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Nia Matthews? Yes. This is Karen Wu. I'm a reporter with the Metro Journal. I'm working on a story about Elias Northwood and his recently discovered son. Would you be willing to comment? Nia's blood went cold. I have no comment. So you're confirming that Leo Matthews is Elias Northwood's biological son? I'm not confirming anything. Don't call this number again. She hung up, her hands shaking. How did a reporter know? She called Elias immediately. He answered on the first ring. Did you tell someone? About Leo? No. I've been extremely careful. Why? A reporter just called me, asking about Leo being your son. There was a beat of silence. What reporter? Karen Wu. Metro Journal. Damn it. What? Someone on my board must have leaked it. There's been talk. People asking questions about why I'm suddenly leaving early on Wednesdays, why I blocked off Saturday mornings. So what do? We prepare for this to go public. I'll have my PR team draft a statement. Elias, I don't want Leo in the media. Neither do I. But if we don't control the narrative, someone else will. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. Her voice cracked. I know. For the first time since this started, he sounded sympathetic. I'll handle it, Nia. I promise. Leo won't be dragged through the mud. He can't promise that. Once a story breaks, it takes on a life of its own. But before Elias could make good on his promise, the story leaked. It hit the internet Friday morning. Not the Metro Journal. A tech gossip blog. Billionaire's secret son, Elias Northwood's hidden heir. The article was full of speculation and half-truths. It mentioned Leo by name, mentioned Nia, mentioned the scholarship, and it included a photo. Someone had taken a picture of Elias and Leo at the park, their faces clearly visible, the resemblance obvious even in the grainy image. By noon, it had been picked up by major outlets. Nia's phone was ringing nonstop. Reporters outside her office, outside her apartment building. She called Elias in a panic. They're everywhere. I can't even leave my office. I'm sending security. They'll get you out and bring you here. I don't want to go there. Nia, you don't have a choice. Your apartment is surrounded. Leo's school is surrounded. I've already had my team pick him up. He's safe. You took him from school without telling me? I'm telling you now. He's here, he's safe, and you need to be here too. She wanted to fight. Wanted to scream at him that he didn't get to make these decisions. But he was right. She couldn't get to Leo through the crowd of reporters. And Leo was probably terrified. Fine. But this is temporary. Understood. The security team that picked her up was efficient and professional. They got her out of the building through a service entrance and into a car with tinted windows. The drive to Elias's building was surreal. Watching the city pass by while her entire life imploded. They brought her up through the same private garage, same private elevator. But instead of the office, they took her to the residential floors. The penthouse. The doors opened directly into a living space that was bigger than most houses. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Modern furniture that looked like art. Everything white and chrome and expensive. Leo was sitting on a leather couch with a woman in a suit, playing a game on his new laptop. He looked up when Nia walked in. Mom. He ran to her, and she grabbed him tight. Are you okay? I'm fine. But there were people with cameras at school. It was weird. I know, baby. I'm sorry. Elias appeared from another room, phone in hand. Thank you, Sandra. I'll take it from here. The woman in the suit nodded and left. And then it was the three of them. The family that shouldn't exist. Elias pocketed his phone. My PR team is drafting a statement. We'll release it tonight, confirm that Leo is my son, ask for privacy during this transition. Nia wanted to argue, but she was too exhausted. Leo tugged on her sleeve. Elias said we're going to stay here for a few days until the reporters go away. Is that okay? Stay here. In Elias's penthouse. In his space. It's just temporary, baby. You can have the guest suite. East Wing. Sandra already brought up some clothes from the boutique downstairs. I don't need your charity. It's not charity. It's necessity. Unless you want to walk back into that mob? She didn't. Fine. A few days. Leo, oblivious to the tension, was already exploring. Mom, there's a library. An actual library with moving ladders. Go look around, sweetheart. Just don't touch anything expensive. He ran off, and Nia was left alone with Elias. This is a disaster. I'm aware. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered. My board is furious. They think this makes me look irresponsible. Like I've been hiding a scandal. Have you told them the truth? That you didn't know? I told them. They don't care. They care about optics. She almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Welcome to my world. Your world? He turned on her. You created this situation, Nia? You kept him hidden. If you'd told me from the beginning, we could have handled this privately, properly. But instead, we're here. Don't you dare put this on me. I did what I had to do. Why? His voice rose. That's what I can't figure out. Why did you have to disappear? What was so terrible that you couldn't even tell me you were pregnant? Because they threatened you. The words burst out of her before she could stop them. Elias froze. What? The silence stretched between them, heavy with 8 years of secrets. Nia sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. You were about to launch the company. You had the algorithm, the patents, everything. And your competitors knew it. What are you talking about? Do you remember Grayson Tech? The company that was trying to develop a similar algorithm? Elias's face hardened. Of course. They tried to sue us for patent infringement, but they had no case. They had more than a case. They had a plan. Nia looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. They approached me, showed me evidence they'd fabricated, code they'd planted, emails they'd forged, all designed to make it look like you'd stolen their work. That's insane. I know. But they had lawyers, Elias, and money. And they told me that if I didn't disappear, if I didn't leave you alone so you'd be too distracted to fight them, they would bury you before you even started. You should have told me. I couldn't risk it. You would have fought them, and maybe you would have won, but maybe you wouldn't. And I couldn't take that chance. So you left. So I left. And 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. And by then, Grayson Tech had already filed their lawsuit. If I came back, if they knew about the baby, they would have used him as leverage. Elias sat down heavily, processing this. Grayson Tech folded 3 years ago. Bankruptcy. I know. I kept track. But by then, you'd built everything. You were successful. And I convinced myself that you were better off without us. Without me knowing my own son existed. His voice was raw. I thought I was protecting you both. You were wrong. I know. They sat in silence, the weight of 8 years of decisions and consequences pressing down on them. Finally, Elias spoke. The lawsuit. The one Grayson filed. I always wondered why they dropped it so suddenly. They had all this momentum, and then they just walked away. Nia's breath caught. What? 3 months into discovery, they dropped everything. Filed for bankruptcy 6 months later. I thought maybe they just ran out of money to fight. But that wasn't it, was it? Nia looked away. Nia, what did you do? She'd never told anyone. Never planned to. I gave them what they wanted. What does that mean? Your algorithm. The early version. The one you'd shown me. Explained to me. I wrote down everything I could remember and gave it to them. Elias stared at her. You committed corporate espionage. To save you. They said if I gave them the algorithm, they'd drop the suit and leave you alone. That algorithm was worth millions. You're worth more. The words hung between them. Elias stood up and walked to the windows, his back to her. So you gave up everything. Left me. Gave away my work. Raised our son alone. All to protect me from a threat I didn't even know existed. Yes. That's the stupidest, most selfless thing I've ever heard. He turned around, and there were tears in his eyes. And it was pointless. What? The algorithm you gave them. It was incomplete. There was a key element I never showed you, never wrote down anywhere. So whatever you gave them was useless. They couldn't make it work. Then why did they drop the suit? Because I proved they'd fabricated evidence. Took me 3 months and a team of forensic experts, but I proved it. They dropped the suit to avoid criminal charges. So I left you for nothing. You left me because you loved me, and because you were terrified, and because you were 22 years old and facing something impossible. He crossed the room and crouched in front of her. I'm still angry. I'm angry that I missed 7 years with Leo. But I understand now. And that's something. Nia couldn't stop crying. I'm so sorry. I know. Before either of them could say more, Leo came running back. Mom, Elias, you have to see this library. It has first editions. Real first editions. They both wiped their eyes quickly, putting on smiles for their son. Show us. Leo grabbed both their hands and pulled them toward the library, chattering about rare books and binding techniques. And for a moment, walking hand in hand with their son between them, it almost felt like they could be a family. The statement went out that night. Short, simple, asking for privacy. The media, of course, did the opposite. By morning, their story was everywhere. Think pieces about billionaire fathers and hidden children. Speculation about Nia's motives. Photos of Leo that made Nia want to scream. Elias's PR team went into damage control. But damage was being done. And then Elias's board called an emergency meeting. He came back from it looking grim. They want me to step down. What? Temporarily. Until the scandal dies down. They think my judgment is compromised. That's ridiculous. Tell them that. He poured himself a drink, something Nia had never seen him do in the middle of the day. There's a shareholder vote in 2 weeks. If enough of them side with the board, I'm out. They can't do that. You built this company. They can, and they will, if I don't give them a reason to keep me. What reason? He looked at her. Stability. The perception of a stable family. They think I'm a liability right now. A billionaire with a secret child and a complicated past. But if I can show them that I'm handling this, that I'm building something positive out of it, they might reconsider. What are you asking? I'm asking you to marry me. The words landed like a bomb. Excuse me? Not for real. Well, not forever. A marriage of convenience. Show the board and the shareholders that we're a united front. A family. You've lost your mind. Have I? Think about it, Nia. If we're married, the story changes. It's not a scandal anymore. It's a reunion. A love story. Second chances. It's a lie, is it? He stepped closer. We have a son together. We're living in the same space. We're figuring out how to co-parent. How is marriage that different? Because marriage means something. It means stability for Leo. It means I keep my company. It means the media backs off because there's no scandal to chase. And what do I get out of this? Financial security. A real home for Leo. The best education money can buy. And my name. The protection that comes with being Mrs. Elias Northwood. I don't want your name. But you want to protect Leo. And right now, the best way to do that is to end this story before it destroys all of us. Nia wanted to say no. Wanted to tell him he was insane. But she looked around the penthouse, thought about the reporters camped outside her apartment, thought about Leo's face when he talked about the life Elias could give him. And she heard herself say, how long? What? How long would we have to stay married? A year. Maybe 2. Long enough for the story to die. Long enough for me to secure my position with the board. After that, we can divorce quietly. Blame it on irreconcilable differences. No harm, no foul. Except for lying to everyone. We've both gotten pretty good at that over the years, haven't we? It was a low blow, but it landed. I need to think about it. You have 24 hours. The board wants an answer before the shareholder meeting. This is insane. Welcome to my world. He threw her words back at her, and despite everything, she almost smiled. That night, Nia couldn't sleep. She lay in the absurdly comfortable guest bed in Elias's penthouse and tried to figure out how her life had become a negotiation. Marriage. To Elias. 8 years ago, she would have said yes without hesitation. Would have married him in a courthouse or a cathedral or on a street corner. But that was before. Before the threats. Before Leo. Before 8 years of silence and secrets. Now marriage felt like a contract. A business deal. Which, she supposed, was exactly what Elias was offering. She must have fallen asleep eventually because she woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. When she emerged from the guest suite, she found Elias in the kitchen making breakfast. Leo was at the counter, already dressed for school, eating pancakes. Morning, Mom. Morning, baby. Elias handed her a cup of coffee without a word. Perfect amount of cream, no sugar. He remembered. We need to leave in 20 minutes to get Leo to school. I'm having the driver take him through the service entrance to avoid reporters. Nia nodded, too tired to argue. After Leo left, chattering happily about a math test he was excited to take, Nia and Elias were alone again. Have you thought about my offer? I've thought about it a little. And she set down her coffee cup. If I agree to this, I have conditions. I'm listening. Leo doesn't know it's fake. As far as he's concerned, we're together because we want to be. Agreed. And after it's over, after we divorce, you don't cut me out. I don't become the weekend parent while you keep him in this world. Elias's jaw tightened. You'll never be cut out. He needs you. Do I have that in writing? If you want it in writing, my lawyers can draft it. I do. Fine. What else? I need my own space. A room that's mine. Not a guest suite. Mine. Done. Anything else? Yes. When this is over, when we divorce, I want you to be honest with Leo. Tell him the truth. Not now, but someday. I don't want him thinking his parents couldn't make it work because of him. Elias nodded slowly. Okay. Then yes. I'll marry you. She expected him to smile, to look triumphant. Instead, he just looked tired. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is survival, not kindness. I know. They stood in the pristine kitchen, 2 people about to make a choice that would change everything. And Nia wondered if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Or if maybe, just maybe, she was fixing one. Are you still with me? because we're about to hit the moment where everything changes. Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you're not going to want to miss what happens next. The wedding was small and fast. City Hall, 2 weeks later, with only David Chun and Sandra as witnesses. Leo was at school, blissfully unaware that his parents were getting married. They would tell him that evening. Elias had decided. Make it a celebration. Nia wore a simple dress. Elias wore a suit. The officiant was bored and efficient. Do you take this man? I do. Do you take this woman? I do. Rings were exchanged. Simple platinum bands that Elias had purchased that morning. You may kiss the bride. Elias looked at Nia, a question in his eyes. She nodded, just barely. He kissed her. Quick and chaste, and nothing like the kisses she remembered from 8 years ago. When they pulled apart, they were married. The PR announcement went out within the hour. Elias Northwood and Nia Matthews, parents of 7-year-old Leo, have married in a private ceremony. The couple is focused on building a family and asked for privacy during this time. The media went insane, but the narrative shifted, just like Elias predicted. Suddenly, they weren't a scandal. They were a romance. A billionaire reunited with his lost love. A modern fairy tale. The think pieces changed from criticism to celebration. Nia read them and wanted to scream. None of it was real. But when they picked up Leo from school and told him, his reaction was real enough. You got married? Like, officially married? Officially married. Elias confirmed. So we're a real family now? We were always a real family, baby. Now we're just making it official. Leo threw his arms around both of them. This is the best day ever. Over his head, Nia's eyes met Elias's. They were lying to their son, to the world, to themselves. But the joy on Leo's face made it almost worth it. Almost. The shareholder meeting was 3 days later. Elias walked in with his new wife on his arm and his son's photo in his wallet. The board tried to push for his removal anyway, but the shareholders voted to keep him. Stability, they said. Family values. Good optics. Elias kept his position, and Nia became Mrs. Northwood. Life settled into a strange new normal. They moved into the penthouse permanently. Leo got his own room, decorated exactly how he wanted with a custom computer setup and walls full of bookshelves. Nia got her own suite, separate from Elias. The arrangement was clear. This was a contract, not a romance. But living together meant navigating 1,000 small intimacies. Morning coffee, dinner conversations, bedtime routines with Leo. Slowly, carefully, they learned each other again. And Nia started to see things she'd missed 8 years ago. The way Elias listened, really listened, when Leo talked. The way he made time in his impossible schedule to attend Leo's school events. The way he looked at their son with such fierce love it took her breath away. He was a good father. She hadn't expected that. 2 months into the marriage, Elias's company launched a new initiative. A junior tech program for kids aged 7 to 12. Hands-on coding, robotics, algorithm design. Leo was one of the first enrolled. And that's how they ended up at the Junior Tech Showcase, 3 months after the wedding. A live televised event where the kids would present their projects. Leo had been working on his for weeks. A complex algorithm that could solve optimization problems faster than current methods. Nia didn't fully understand it, but she knew it was brilliant. The showcase was held in Northwood Technologies' main auditorium, packed with parents, press, investors. Elias was one of the judges. Nia sat in the front row, watching as kid after kid presented. They were all impressive, but when Leo's name was called, her heart swelled with pride. He walked onto the stage in his pressed shirt and glasses, carrying a laptop and a confidence that seemed impossible for someone so young. Hi, I'm Leo Northwood, and I'm going to show you how to make computers think faster. He dove into his presentation, explaining his algorithm with the same enthusiasm he brought to everything. The audience was captivated. Elias was watching with undisguised pride. And then Leo got to the live demo. He pulled up his code, connected to the large screen so everyone could see. So if I input this problem set, my algorithm should solve it in under 3 seconds. He hit enter. Nothing happened. Leo frowned, checking his code. That's weird. Let me try again. He adjusted something and ran it again. Error message. The audience shifted uncomfortably. Leo's confidence wavered. Nia watched as panic started to creep into her son's eyes. And then Elias stood up from the judge's table. Mind if I take a look? Leo nodded, grateful. Elias climbed onto the stage and leaned over the laptop, scanning the code. Here, you've got a syntax error on line 47. Easy fix. His fingers flew over the keyboard, Leo watching intently. And you need to adjust this variable here. See how it's calling the wrong function? Oh, yeah, I see it. Leo's hands joined his father's on the keyboard, the two of them working in perfect sync. The audience watched, mesmerized, as father and son debugged the code together. Try it now. Leo hit enter. The program ran. Results populated in 2.8 seconds. The auditorium erupted in applause. Elias put his hand on Leo's shoulder, and the camera zoomed in on them. Same eyes, same focus, same brilliant minds. And then Elias did something unplanned. He lifted Leo up, hugging him in front of everyone. The camera caught it. The genuine affection, the pride, the love. A reporter in the crowd stood up. Mr. Northwood, the resemblance between you and Leo is remarkable. Is there a reason for that? The room went silent. This was it. The moment where the careful PR could crumble, where the speculation could start again. Elias looked at Nia in the front row. She held her breath. And then Elias took the microphone. Yes, there is. Leo is my son, and his brilliance isn't just the result of the scholarship or the program. It's inheritance. He has my mind because he has my DNA, and I have never been more proud of anything in my life. The room exploded. Cameras flashing. Reporters shouting questions. But Elias waved security forward. That's all the questions we're taking tonight. This is about the kids and their amazing work. Let's keep the focus on them. He handed the microphone back and walked off stage with Leo, heading straight for Nia. Time to go. He took her hand and Leo's hand, and security formed a wall around them as they left through a side exit. In the car, Leo was vibrating with excitement. Did you see? We fixed it together. You did great, baby. Nia pulled him close. Elias met her eyes over Leo's head. Thank you for claiming him publicly. He's my son. The world should know it. There was something in his voice, something real. That night, after Leo was asleep, Nia found Elias in his office. Can I ask you something? Sure. The scholarship. The one Leo won. How did he win it? Out of thousands of applicants? Elias was quiet for a long moment. Promise you won't be angry. That's never a good start. He pulled up a program on his computer. When I started the foundation, I wrote a search algorithm. It was designed to flag applications with specific cognitive patterns, problem-solving approaches, mathematical thinking, patterns that match my own. He turned the screen so she could see. I was looking for my intellectual successor, someone who thought like me. I never imagined the algorithm would find my biological son. Nia stared at the screen. You're saying the algorithm identified Leo because he's genetically similar to you? I'm saying the algorithm found him before I even knew he existed. The universe, or code, or whatever you believe in, brought him to me. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's impossible. I've seen the results. His application scored higher than anyone in the program's history. Because his brain works like mine. Because he's mine. All this time, I thought I was protecting him from you. But you were always meant to find him. Maybe. Or maybe you gave me the greatest gift of my life, and I just didn't know it yet. They stood in the quiet office, the city glowing beyond the windows, and Nia felt something shift. This marriage might have started as a contract, but somewhere along the way, it had become something more. And that terrified her more than anything. The days after the showcase were chaotic. The video of Elias and Leo on stage went viral. The story of the billionaire and his genius son dominated headlines. But the narrative was positive, inspiring. A family reunited. A father and son connected by brilliance. The board backed off. The shareholders were happy. And Elias's position was more secure than ever. But Nia could feel the cracks forming. Because Leo was getting attached. Was starting to see Elias not just as his father, but as his hero. And Nia was starting to see Elias as more than just a contract. She caught herself watching him. The way he moved through the penthouse. The way he laughed at Leo's jokes. The way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention. And one night, for months into the marriage, everything changed. They'd put Leo to bed together, a routine they'd fallen into. Story time, tucking him in, kissing him goodnight. When they stepped into the hallway, Elias's hand brushed hers. Neither of them pulled away. Nia. His voice was soft. This isn't fake for me anymore. Her breath caught. Elias. I know what we agreed. I know this was supposed to be temporary. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel something. We have a contract. Screw the contract. He turned to face her fully. I'm falling for you, Nia. Maybe I never stopped. And if there's any chance you feel the same, I need to know. Her heart was pounding. This is a bad idea. I've built a career on bad ideas that turned out brilliant. We have Leo to think about. I am thinking about Leo. He deserves parents who love each other. Really love each other. What if it doesn't work? What if we try this for real and it falls apart? Then we deal with it. Together. Like we should have 8 years ago. He cupped her face in his hands. I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for real. Can you give me that? Nia looked into those amber eyes, the same eyes she saw every day in her son's face, and made a choice. She kissed him. Not a contract kiss. Not a performance for witnesses. A real kiss. Full of 8 years of longing and regret and hope. When they pulled apart, both breathless, Elias rested his forehead against hers. Is that a yes? That's a maybe. A cautious, terrified maybe. I'll take it. They stood in the hallway outside their son's room, and Nia felt the last of her walls crumble. This wasn't the plan. But maybe it was better than the plan. Maybe it was what they were meant to be all along. 6 months later, they told Leo the truth. Not all of it, but enough. We need to tell you something, baby. When we got married, it wasn't exactly how we made it seem. What do you mean? Elias took over. We got married quickly because I needed to show my company that I was responsible, that I was building a family. It started as a way to solve a problem. Leo's face fell. So you don't actually love each other? Nia grabbed his hand. That's the thing. We thought we were pretending. But somewhere along the way, it became real. We fell in love. Actually, I think we were always in love. We just needed time to find our way back to each other. Leo looked between them. So you're staying together? For real? For real. Elias confirmed. If that's okay with you. Leo's grin could have lit the city. Are you kidding? That's perfect. He hugged them both. And Nia felt something settle in her chest. They'd lied. They'd hidden. They'd made mistakes. But they'd also found their way to something true. A year after the showcase, Elias proposed again. For real this time. In front of Leo, in the library of their home, with a ring that was nothing like the simple band from the contract wedding. Nia Matthews Northwood. Will you marry me? Again. But this time for love, not convenience. She said yes. They renewed their vows on the anniversary of their first wedding. Same location, City Hall. But this time Leo was there. And this time, when Elias kissed her, it was real. The story of the billionaire and his hidden son became the story of a family built on second chances. And Nia learned that sometimes the thing you run from is exactly what you need to run toward. If you made it this far, thank you for taking this journey with us. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe to Love Tales by Mr. Grayson for more stories about love, family, and second chances. And drop a comment telling me about your own second chance story. Because we all deserve a love that finds us, even when we're hiding. This is Mr. Grayson, reminding you that the best love stories aren't the ones that start perfect. They're the ones that become perfect through patience, forgiveness, and the courage to try again.